2015 Ford F150, 3.5 liter F150 XL, 4x4, Ecoboost. It has a check fuel inlet code or light on the dash. And one of the things I do first is I go to it and I use my finger instead of the fuel inlet, the filler tube that comes with the vehicle. And I'll push on the flap, and then once I get inside, I'll push on, let me see if I can turn this on and demonstrate. I'll push on the secondary flap and I can open it. It actually opens and releases. That's not good, because those little tabs on the side are supposed to lock that and stop it from opening without the proper size fitment. So I know that I have a fuel inlet that it's not necessarily an issue. I've seen people go, you know, the life of the vehicle with those little tabs not having enough tension to keep that locked anymore. But the purpose of that, for one, is to stop people from stealing fuel from your vehicle, right? It's like a safety thing. The main purpose is to actually keep that flap up. So during an evap event, you're not pulling that flap open and introducing false air into the system. So this is faulty. The customer does have Ford ESP for another 15,000 miles. So I do want to get that taken care of while he still has warranty and it's covered. The second thing is when that would cause that, which is the main primary reason, is a bad purge valve. It'll be stuck open and allowing fuel vapor to flood the intake all the time, and they'll think that I know it seems counterintuitive. People are like, well, wouldn't it be a bad vent valve or a bad fuel cap if it's throwing a check fuel inlet door? Not always. It's really weird how the system works, because if you have a fuel inlet door that's not locked closed and you have a purge valve that's stuck open and there's vacuum on that line all the time, it'll pull air past that fuel inlet door and you'll have a double problem. Not only a bad purge valve, but also a fuel inlet door. So the proper way to do it is to actually fix both when you find a concern like this. How you get this purge valve off of here is there's a green locking tab where you got to undo the little clips from the bottom and push it through. This one, you got to push under here. It's kind of rough when they're this dirty. You got to pull this one up as well. And then down here, there's a nipple on the side of this here. And when you release those tabs, you can slowly wiggle everything off, and that's how you end up coming up with this. All right, so here we are. We're on the inlet side, and remember, this is where the connector goes, and then this portion goes forward. Sometimes this shuttle valve will actually malfunction as well, and it can cause some issues, but mainly it's the actual valve itself. I know you guys, some of you don't like seeing me do this, but sometimes it's one of the only ways you can check manually. Oh, you're hitting a face. It is a little bit leaking, not terrible. It's not bad. It might be that fuel inlet itself, but I'm going to go ahead and submit because I am getting a minor leak. I can hear it. I'm going to submit for the purge valve, and I'm going to submit for the fuel tank inlet, the whole tube, because it comes as one assembly, and then we're going to revisit this. So as you can see here, we have a test pass for the evap system, and the reason that is, the first time I did it, it failed. And then it said, okay, in the middle of the test, it said, go back and check your inlet door and rod it a few times with the little filler neck. I did, came back, it failed again. I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna rerun that test again, and I'm just gonna take just my basic, trim tool that I got from Mac. And while it's running the test and it's pulling it into the vacuum, it will open the vent valve 100%, but it will slowly increase the purge valve little by little by little by little by little until it starts pulling the tank into a vacuum. And once it starts pulling it into a vacuum, it will die, and then we'll check bleed up rate. That's why you got estimated leak size, and then you'll get a bleed up rate. So I took my trim tool while one of the lube techs was watching the screen, and I said, keep telling me what's happening. The little meter, is it shuttling? Is it pulling into a vacuum? And it wasn't, so I came up here with my trim tool, and sometimes these little shuttle valves that shuttle between fresh air and, you see this here? It comes up here to the air box. and it will pull fresh air, and the shuttle will get stuck and it won't shuttle back and forth. So I started tapping it this way, tapping it this way, tapping it this way, both ways, back and forth, and right at about 35%, all of a sudden it started pulling into a vacuum. The shuttle valve is stuck. But if you follow the pinpoint test, it's going to tell you to replace that fuel filler door. Even though it is faulty, it's not really enough to cause the system to fail. The shuttle valve is not shuttling back and forth anymore. And I've had a problem on the escapes and fusions and stuff, the same thing. The shuttle valve, eventually it ends up drying up with the fuel vapor and stuff that goes through here, and it ends up malfunctioning. It can't shuttle anymore. So this vehicle needs a purge valve. Here's the part number that you need. It's a BL3Z 9B325C. Here's the old part. This is the part you get. It comes in this box like this. There's the new part installed. And went ahead and did the evap test, and it passed with flying colors. It did not even need to get up to 40-inch or 40% open on the purge valve in order. It only went up to like 19 or 20, and it was automatically, almost automatically off the hit, was pulling it into vacuum. Vent valve open 100%, or vent valve closed 100%, and purge valve open like at 5%. It already started pulling vacuum. At 20%, it was completely into a vacuum, and the engine died, which is normal. And then it gives you your leak size and everything, and pass with flying colors. So this is why these things can be very deceiving when you're trying to diagnose fuel tank inlet open, and a lot of techs will argue with you online, and they're like, no, it's the vent valve, that's why it's doing it, the vent valve is failing, or you know, it's the fuel tank inlet. Really, the right thing to do is give the customer the option to replace that fuel tank filler neck, so at least he has a locking cap. But the main problem 99.9% of the time when this stuff happens is always the purge valve. It's actually not really the vent valve that much, or the fuel tank filler inlet that much. Almost always the purge valve. And that was the case here. Y'all be blessed. Have a great day.